This is a video similar to another video that I made comparing blue tongue skinks to bearded dragons. This would be a blue tongue skinks versus leopard gecko video. I'm not going to make a bearded dragon versus leopard gecko video because I pretty much discussed most of what you need or what factors comes into when deciding getting a bearded dragon. And I don't have my bearded dragon anymore. So I'm just going to make a video between my blue tongue skink and my leopard gecko. This is Yoshi. He is several years old, close to about 5 years old now. An albino leopard gecko. And I have actually upgraded him to a 40-gallon breeder. He was previously in a 24 by 24 cage, which is actually a good size for one leopard gecko. So you can house a leopard gecko in a 20-gallon long or a 24 by 24. If you want to upgrade like I do with Yoshi to a bigger tank, a 40-gallon breeder is just as good. The choice is yours. Or if you want to go bigger, that's fine. Now for blue tongue skinks, you really don't have that much of a leeway. You have to go big. You have to expect them to grow big, and they need bigger cages, meaning your blue tongue skink at minimum need about a 4x2 tank or enclosure. A 40-gallon breeder, unless you have a small blue tongue skink, it will not work. It will not work for them. I have housed my Homer, who is a Maruki blue tongue skink, in a 40-gallon breeder as he was growing, and it was very clear that it was not big enough for him to make even a U-turn. And blue tongue skinks, when they turn around, they make a really big U-turn. Nothing like a bearded dragon. So they need a lot more floor space. They need a bigger tank. For a leopard gecko, 20-gallon long is good enough for one. If you want to upgrade, again, 40-gallon breeders are just as good. There's plenty of floor space for him. They don't climb, so that's not a concern. And one great thing about leopard gecko is you can get these tanks anywhere. This is actually a fish tank. This was a used fish tank that I converted to become his terrarium. And I pretty much got this tank for free. Cleaned it out, put some decorations in there, and it's good to go. You can find these tanks pretty much for free on Craigslist or anywhere. People are always throwing out these tanks. They don't need them anymore, or they sell them at very cheap prices. So you can get these anywhere. Even 20-gallon longs are not hard to find. If you were to buy them in the store, they're very cheap too. They always have a $1 per gallon sale at Petco. So you can always pick one up. So aquariums, terrariums, whatever you like, as long as you give them enough floor space to move around. You have a warm hide, a humid hide, and a cool hide. There's the hide inside underneath here. This is not his hide. This is just a cover. Okay, check. That's his hide. And for decoration, this is meant for aquarium. I got it for free. I wasn't gonna toss it out. I just use it as a decoration. The leopard gecko doesn't care, and most people, when they look at his tank, they didn't even notice this was actually meant for an aquarium. So you can find a lot of that too at a very deep discount, or some people throwing away their fish aquarium tanks, items like this. Keep it, use it. It looks nice. It may look a little bit off, but it looks nice. So round one, I would definitely recommend leopard gecko in terms of space and cost. They are cheaper it's cheaper to get a tank, easier to find a tank, and it takes up less space. So if you're living in a small apartment, or you're not allowed that much space to have a big tank, leopard geckos is a good option. Definitely blue tongue skinks need the space. It's not negotiable. So if you can't, or at this time, have that kind of a large tank in your home or in your room, it's best just to wait to get the blue tongue skink. Same for bearded dragon. You definitely need a bigger space for a beard, just as much space as a blue tongue skink, if not a little bit less. But a 40-gallon breeder is a no-no for a bearded dragon as well. So, diet. Blue tongue skinks' diet is more varied. They are omnivores. They eat meat, they eat vegetables, they eat insects. Leopard geckos, however, are strictly insectivores, meaning you have to have a supply of insects. Live insects. You can't feed them freeze-dried either. You have to gut load your insects. So that could be a problem for those who are not allowed to keep any worms or crickets in their house, or even roaches in their house. He's a little bit shy. He's looking for a place to hide. Here you go. So you'll need to gut load your insects. You'll need to find a way to get a source of insect feeders at a pet store. And they can be costly if you're buying them from PetSmart and so forth. A cricket or mealworms, the cost would go up if you have. But then again, leopard geckos, even overall, for one leopard gecko, it costs so little to feed them. So, for example, as an adult, I feed my leopard gecko once a week. Are you gonna go hide? He's a shy little boy. So for him, I feed him once a week, and as you can see, his tail is a good sign of health. That's how you can tell if your leopard gecko is in good health, is to look at the tail. Not too chubby, not too skinny. That's where they store all their fat. If it's too fat, the tail is too chubby, that means you are overfeeding your lizard. But you also don't want it too skinny. That means they're using up all their fat reserve for some reason. And typically, they would not. They would maintain a good amount in case of starvation period or in case of illness. So if you have a very, very skinny tail, then there's something really wrong with your lizard. It could be sick, or it could have not been fed properly. You definitely need a good thorough checkup, maybe even a parasite. There may be a parasite problem in your lizard. So this is what you need to look for. A leopard gecko that's slim with an okay tail, not too skinny, not too chubby. So for that reason, I don't overfeed my leopard gecko. Once a week, he eats as much as he wants, and that's it. When he was younger, you would feed him a lot more. I would feed him every other day when he was a baby. So you would definitely feed your leopard gecko based on the health and the size of your leopard gecko. You will have to make that decision, but generally twice a week, once a week, if you have a healthy leopard gecko, you're good to go. Oh, sorry, I'm trying to get in here. Here you go. He's trying to go take a nap. Now for the blue tongue skink, same thing. I feed mine once a week to keep him from being too fat, and also he's in a slim condition. So they're about the same amount of time. Once a week I feed them. But for my blue tongue skink, I definitely have to vary his diet. Whereas a leopard gecko, you just feed them insects and they're good to go. You don't have to worry about vegetables and so forth. So cost-wise, actually it's cheaper to feed your leopard gecko. I guess if you're the type of person who likes to feed different things to your animal, it may be a little bit boring over time to feed your leopard gecko. But that's just how it is in everything, to be honest. When you do things over and over again, you just kind of get bored with it. Cost-wise, maintenance-wise, feeding a leopard gecko is easier than a blue tongue skink. So how much does it cost to buy one of these? Leopard geckos are so much more affordable. I mean, I got him for $45. He's an albino morph leopard gecko as a baby. I purchased him for $45 at an expo, which is a really good price. for blue tongue skinks, just a morph of any kind will cost you hundreds of dollars. A regular non-morph normal wild type blue tongue skink will cost you at least $300 to start a baby. So it's just, it costs a lot more, but understandably it is harder to breed blue tongue skinks than leopard geckos, mostly because they require more space, and it takes time for them to breed, the breeding season and so forth. Leopard geckos breed very easily in captivity. In actuality, they are the #1 mostly bred and, I guess in a way, domesticated lizard in the reptile industry. This is it, the leopard gecko. Just like the corn snake of the snake world, where they're bred and almost, I guess in a way, domesticated. In the reptile world, like we're talking about, these are generations removed from the wild. Like so many generations removed. Their great-great-great-great-grandparents were not even from the wild. That's how removed they are from the wild. So is the leopard gecko. So for Yoshi, his grandparents, his great-great-great-great-grandparents probably never seen or even know where they come from. So what I'm trying to say is, for that reason, price will have gone down for these lizards because they are so common, they're bred so much. There's hundreds of different morphs for them available at a very affordable price. There are even morphs, not even morphs, but there is a size genetic trait. Tremper, I think is his name. He's one of the famous breeders who have found who was able to breed the giant gene. So you do have even leopard geckos that are almost as big and twice as big or a little bit bigger than your regular gecko that you're seeing right now. So you have different sizes, different colors, different patterns. Some even have eye shapes that are different, the eclipse. So you have all that, and most of them are affordable. Of course, some will cost more than others, but nothing in comparison to a blue tongue skink without a morph, without a pattern change, without anything. So if you are someone who just wants to have a simple lizard to keep, you don't want to spend too much money, and you have a space limitation, leopard gecko again is a great choice. So husbandry wise, I've already discussed this in my previous video, so I'm not going to repeat myself here. I would say the leopard gecko again win this category because you don't need lights. You can supplement UVB light if you like, but a heat mat with a thermos attached to a thermostat is more than good enough. Cool side is good enough. They're very hardy, very healthy. It takes a lot for you to screw up your leopard gecko. It really, really does. They're very forgiving on mistakes, if there are any, but they can handle a lot. They can handle a lot. Just like blue tongue skinks, they are hardy too. But you do, if you choose to use UVB lighting, then you should. I mean, I recommend it for the blue tongue skink, but the leopard gecko, I would say it's optional. Yeah, he went inside. He's hiding. I'm not going to stress him out. So husbandry-wise, they're about the same. They're both not difficult. But if you were to use UVB lighting, which I do recommend for the blue tongue skink, that I would do. Whereas for the leopard gecko, it's more like optional. Some people say it helps, there is a benefit to it. I have tried it on my snakes. I have tried on my leopard gecko. It made no difference. And secondly, my leopard gecko, or any leopard gecko in general, as a species as a whole, they are nocturnal. UVB light comes on just as when the sun is out. So to mimic the sun's rays. If he's not out to bask, and they're not basking lizards, unlike the blue tongue skink, he's gonna miss it all. And he does. He just stays in his hides and he sleeps during the day. At nighttime is when he's most active, and by nighttime my UVB lights turned off. So he didn't get any benefit from it at all. None of my snakes' behavior had changed or their scales look any better. To me, okay, I'm sure some people would disagree, and that's fine. We can have our opinion. To me, it didn't make a difference, so I don't use it for my leopard gecko or my snakes. Because I've tried, I've used it, didn't make a difference. So it's not like I didn't try and just start making things up. Put that back aside. All right, buddy, I'm not going to bother you so much anymore. So when it comes to handling, which is better for handling? It depends. Sometimes you have a leopard gecko that doesn't mind being picked up and handled. Sometimes you have a blue tongue skink who doesn't mind being picked up and handled either. But my experience has been that they're both, it's a hit or miss. It's a hit or miss. It depends. Sometimes you pick a lizard up that just have a really good personality. Sometimes you don't. Generally, reptiles don't like being picked up, regardless. I mean, snakes, reptiles, of any kind, lizards, reptiles get nothing out of being handled. They don't feel the same way they do like when you pet a dog. The dog likes it. We have proof that the dog likes it. They've done MRI scans and so forth to prove that dogs do enjoy being petted, being touched by their owner. Reptiles, however, without going into details, they just don't see us like that. They see us as, maybe this warm, tree-looking creature that feeds them food. They don't mind being picked up. They know you're not going to eat them. Do they crave being held? No. Do they get stressed from being held too much? Yes, they do. They do. Using, ball pythons, for example. If you picked up your ball python every single day for hours on end, I would be surprised if it continues to eat for you. I would be. Or any snake for that matter. You just keep picking them up, handle, every single day for hours on end. Some will tolerate it better than others. Even if it doesn't show it, one of the best way for them to show you that they don't like it, that they're getting stressed out, is not eating, not interested in eating. So that's when you got to cut back on the handling. With that said, they are lizards. They are what they are. If you want something to pick up and cuddle all the time, reptiles are not for you. And that's just being truthful. Reptiles are not your toys. They're not cats. They're not dogs. They're not here for you to cuddle. They are reptiles. They are in many ways still very wild, even though they've been bred for generations. They still maintain a lot of that wild instinct where being picked up means being eaten. That's what it means to them. And no matter how much you can try to convince them, some of them just can never be convinced. Others maybe can be convinced that you won't eat them, but that doesn't mean they'll have to like it. So be clear on that when you get a pet reptile, that they are not your cuddle bug. You can cuddle them in short, very short sessions, but don't overhandle them. Don't spend every single day picking them up and putting on your head, putting on your shoulder, showing off to your friends. Take it to a pet store. Look, guys, I have a ball python. And I'm here shaking my head, feeling so bad for that poor baby ball python. I bet you they just got it the other day. And I'm like, what are you doing? Your snake needs to chill. It needs to stay in its cage. The temperature outside of its cage is not optimal for them. It's 50-something degrees out there, and you're taking your ball python outside so you can show it off to your friends. That is not proper reptile keeping. For the everybody's, sake, for those who actually do keep their reptiles responsibly, please don't do that. You're making the hobby look bad. You're making the snake feel bad, or your lizard feel bad. So anyways, that's my rant. Handling, they're both good. Leopard gecko are very, very unlikely to bite. I would never worry about them biting. If you have a child and you're scared that your lizard would bite, don't worry. I wouldn't worry about it. It's very rare to find an aggressive lizard. Same for blue tongue skinks. They're really less likely to bite. But if both of them were to bite, the leopard gecko's bite is, look, this mouth is so much smaller. So much smaller that they're less likely to bite. Oh, my cat is having a hairball moment here. Are you done, Gizmo? You're always the one interrupting my videos. So yeah. And I think I pretty much covered everything. The husbandry is easy. The cage size is manageable. It's small. You can get cages pretty much anywhere and everywhere for leopard geckos. A lot easier than a blue tongue skink. Temperament is great. Rarely would you find a really aggressive leopard gecko. Most of the time they're very easy to handle. They don't bite. Okay, let me see if I can bother him one last time. I'm sorry, buddy. I know you hate me. I'm almost done with the video. So between the two, I would highly recommend the leopard gecko. The only the difference between these two that I need to make sure it's clear on is that the leopard gecko will outlive your blue tongue skink. They are known to live over 30-something years, 20 to 30 years. So you need to be prepared for that. Your blue tongue skink will live about 15 to 20. So chances are your leopard gecko will outlive your blue tongue skink. If you want a long-living lizard, the leopard gecko will fit the bill. If you want a bigger lizard or you don't plan to have reptiles for that long, then the blue tongue skink may be a better choice, as long as you have the space and you're able to even afford one. He ran away from me. Yep, he went to hide in the other hide. Alright, I think I bothered him enough. Anyways, hopefully that answered everybody's questions. Thanks for watching.